question there was, is Mac going to start the last 3 games? And Bill answers with the plan is to try and beat Cincinnati, which to me was a pass on the question of, I'm not playing this game today. I'm going to give you the same answer I gave you how many years ago when you asked me if Tom was going to get benched by Giardi.
Bingo.
And Bert Breer. Was it Giardi or Breer?
It was Giardi.
No. So it was Giardi after the Kansas City game.
Kansas City, week 5.
Are you going to evaluate the quarterback position right after the game?
Bill's like,
in Kansas City.
Thank
it was
you.
Albert
who followed up
prior
on Wednesday.
to the Bengals game, right?
Okay, and he said we're on to Cincinnati.
On to Cincinnati.
There you go. So it was Breer in that midweek one. I knew Giardi had been involved as well. So plan is to beat Cincinnati. I felt it was the same thing as it was that however many years ago that is now. Is that 14?
Yes.
Yeah. So
14 season.
8 years ago. Man, long time ago. That's how I read that. I did not read that as him trying to leave it open-ended that Mac may not start the rest of the way. Although, Phil, I think that's possible, but I don't think that's what was being conveyed there.
I don't think so either. This is sort of how he's handled these questions this year, right? Go back to the Chicago week or just after the Chicago week. We
avoided it.
Asked him about it all the time. And I'm not sure we ever got a Mac's our quarterback, Mac will start for us, et cetera, kind of answer. The same way we got during the Cam Newton year, for instance, when we got that quite frequently. So that's a discussion that we have had. We've had it for weeks this year. So I just think this was sort of a continuation of that. Now you could sit here and say, well, isn't that significant then? And we could debate that and bat that around. Is he in love with the quarterback right now? I don't know. He just went 13 for 31 or whatever it was and had probably his worst game of the year. So I don't think Bailey Zappi's going to be starting this year. I also don't think Bill Belichick's answer, the way he answered that, is really telling us one way or the other. I had the same reaction you did. There's a funny little not audio hiccup, but it's just the way Bill answers questions. It does sound like right before he says the plan is to try to beat Cincinnati or the plan is to beat Cincinnati, whatever he says, there's a yeah or there's a something. There's a verbal tick. And so maybe people will latch onto that and say, he said yeah. You asked him if he was going to start. He said yeah.
Let's try to beat Cincinnati.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
But it wasn't affirming. It wasn't answering the question. It was just I heard your question. The plan is to beat Cincinnati. Something like that.
Yeah,
you know
he doesn't want to engage on a quarterback debate is what he's doing there. That's what he's doing. He's avoiding it.
Agreed.
Mac Jones will start Saturday. If Mac Jones plays, mediocre to well, anywhere in there, he'll start again. It would take him playing poorly. Now, this is my question. What if he plays the same way he did against the Raiders in this first half against Cincinnati?
Natives will get restless. Yes.
Will Bailey Zappi play?
Because here's the thing. Now you are arguably talking about saving the season, right? I mean, this is now 3 playoff games in a row against 3 playoff teams to try and keep the hopes alive of getting in.
I don't foresee it happening. I really don't. I think they made their decision after that Chicago game, and they were going to try to let it roll. I mean, if it's that bad, I honestly, and I said this at the time, I think the only thing that gets him out are turnovers.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Sure.
Which he didn't do the other day.
He did not.
Yeah.
I think couldn't make a throw, it felt like, for periods.
I think it's sneaky 3 big games, sneakier than people think, like big games, these next 3. Not for obvious reasons for playoffs, but
for big picture.
If you're not in the playoffs, big picture, like, do you really want a 3-game skid and bad play by the quarterback going into this offseason? Because it will be the topic.
So it's 3 games meaning what?
I think he needs to play well. And whatever's playing well is protect the football, hit around 70%, 65, 70%, 2 touchdowns, no picks a game.
What are the stakes, though, Zoe? What are the stakes? If he doesn't, then what?
If he doesn't, then there's talk of next year's year 3, and you need to make a decision on a quarterback. We might have to start making it now.
Do they start exploring other?
We're talking about it, or they're talking?
That's what needs to be clarified. Are they exploring other things as a result of
when they shut that door and they get in their season wrap-up meeting and they start going over each individual position? Damn, there's that one game where we were in it. If he would have just made one play in that fourth quarter, one play on those final 2 drives, there's going to be moments like that they're going to reflect on. It's not good enough. I'm not saying that now like in real time. I'm just saying if it goes wrong, if it goes poorly here for 3 games, they'll be questioning him. He'll be first one talked about.
The word you're using there that I find interesting is they. I would love to know who's in that meeting.
Talking to all the coaches.
Which ones? Are they going to be around
staff,
next year?
Full staff meeting. I see what you're saying.
Like, are those guys, does what Matt Patricia have to say in that meeting, how far does that go? Does it matter?
It's a good question.
Is it just Bill sitting in a room by himself until he gets a new offensive coordinator? Is the new offensive coordinator, whoever it is, and I'm assuming here now, but if there is somebody brought in, does that person sit in, watch it all the way back and say, boy, we got to reevaluate this thing, and Bill, maybe it's time to make a real investment at that spot. Not that we have to draft somebody in the first round, but maybe there's a couple quarterbacks hanging around out there that are veteran guys. Maybe we should make a play for one of these guys. I wouldn't completely rule that out, but I could tell you, if somebody is brought in from the outside to run the offense next year, I think they're going to look at Mac and they're going to look at this season and they are going to chalk it up to a lost year because of the coaching situation. I've talked to a number of coaches, some front office people over the course of the last week, and I haven't talked to anybody who doesn't think Mac Jones can play. The coaching situation has been described to me in a variety of different terms, which are pretty colorful. And it's only become more apparent. These are a lot of people that shared these types of opinions with me during the combine and figured that this would not work. And now the reaction is, essentially a shrug of the shoulders and saw this train wreck coming from a mile away. It's not a lot of the kid can't play. Let me correct that.
I agree.
I have not heard that.
I agree.
And it doesn't mean there aren't people out there that believe that. But I have not heard that. What I have heard is he's not being coached.
So keep it there. And say they retain everybody in their same positions. Are you going to look at it now and say, well, we're not good enough online. We're not good enough at receiver to separate to help him. We need somebody else getting the ball in there. That has a different skill set. Because we are what we are. And he doesn't fit what we do. Because that's what it looks like to me right now. Like they're just struggling to find any sort of rhythm. I get excited when they hit a big one down the field because I'm like, see, you can do this. You could throw a dig to Thornton. They never came back to that in the game. He missed the seam pass to Myers. He was wide ass open. Hit the one on the right. Why don't you throw more of those?
But Zoe, is it the reason they brought him in the first place is because he does fit what they do? Like people.
Yeah, but they changed the offense.
People weren't sure. Well, they did. You're right. Well,
he did fit what they do a year ago. No, he handled it well.
He fit what they did.
Yeah. See, but I said
just such a commentary of what kind of decision that was.
So why is it so shocking? Why is it so shockingly hard to go from the Earhart system to the West Coast? Because Jimmy handled it great.
Well, because the coach. So the reason is obvious.
Got a hell of a play caller.
It's staring all of us in the face. It's the coaching. Do you have coaches that understand how to coach this new system? It's one thing to put it in. It's another to coach it and then coach that position. Mac Jones was considered to be maybe the number 3 overall pick in that draft because he fit Kyle Shanahan's system so well. That's the West Coast system in the league right now.
Look at Purdy. Purdy doesn't have a cannon for an arm.
I bet part of the reason they thought it would be a good move to make this move this offseason with the offense was because they thought it would be good for Mac Jones. And I think with the right coaches, it could be good for Mac Jones. It's good for Kirk Cousins. It's good for Jimmy Garoppolo. What do those guys do that Mac Jones physically can't do? I don't know. So I get it in theory, but if you don't have the people to actually execute the thing, you're going to run into problems. They've run into problems.